All right, welcome to StereoPsych. I'm Stephen Downey, a clinical psychologist from Australia. What we do on this channel is we break down Am I the Asshole Reddit threads, sometimes other ones, but usually this. And today we'll be doing the usual, which is pick the top one that isn't an update or an edit, read through it, and then sort of break it down how I would think about that. So I'll read it from beginning to end, and then I'll give some thoughts on what I think about it. Am I the asshole for telling my husband's affair baby's family to either come get the kid or I'm calling CPS? So I'm a female, 53 years old, and my soon-to-be ex-husband, Roger, which is 47, whom I forgave for his affair, came home with a baby 4 months ago. His girlfriend, 22, could not handle it anymore and brought the baby to him at work and left. To the best of his knowledge, she's in Spain. I allowed him to stay so long as I didn't have to do anything, him being the baby, anything at all. Well, about a month ago, Roger had a heart attack. Didn't kill him, more's the pity, but he's very weak and incapable of doing anything for himself. Since he isn't up and about, he can't care for his child. He also cannot drop off and pick up his son at daycare. I've been helping, but I'm done. My kids are full grown. I shouldn't be having any grandkids anytime soon. I do not have any desire to care for a baby. I told Roger that I want a divorce. I contacted the mother's parents. I know the father through friends. I said they had until Friday to come get their child, or I was calling Child Protective Services. They just left with the baby, but they scolded me for being so cold towards a baby that had done me no harm. I view that child differently. Roger is recovering and I'll be moving out. The house is in his name, but I've never contributed to it. I have the equivalent of 22 years of rent and interest put away, and as per our prenup, my savings are my own. I work and I don't need anything out of this marriage except myself. My kids tried telling me to stay and help their father. I said they were welcome to come over and help with cleaning himself and the baby. Both declined what I felt was a fair offer. I do not feel that I'm acting badly. However, Roger, our children, his child's family, and a few mutual friends think I am. Perhaps writing this and seeing the responses will give me clarity. Right. I feel like the core of this situation is if your husband cheats on you, do you have any responsibility towards the child of that union? And it would appear to me that there was not a discussion in advance that agreed that, children of other sexual unions would be relationship children. And therefore, no, I mean, you really don't have anything that you owe towards this child. The baby is not yours. Yeah, it really boils down to Roger. Now, I'm left curious about this from this perspective. I forgave Roger for his affair, right? But there's a baby. Did she not know about the baby? Or did she know about it, but was basically leaving Roger to manage that part of his life now independently, like himself, There doesn't seem to be a discussion that's sort of been had around what is my role in regard to Roger's child that he's had with somebody else. So given that, we can't know why, but I'm looking at the situation and wondering whether or not the baby is actually news posted. So she thinks affair is done, etc. Because of the way that she describes him as came home with a baby 4 months ago, I'm left sort of with that this might be a little bit out of the blue for this person who's already trying to patch things up and be done with it. And she's then finds that she's got essentially a child in the mix. Obviously the situation changes, like Roger has a heart attack. Again, there's a conversation to be had there, but it looks like the conversation was had and she believes it to be final. The point at which she states, I don't have to do anything, and she means anything, that's as unconditional as it can be, and it's not conditional on whether or not Roger himself can do anything. So when he cannot stick with his end of the bargain, she enforces essentially the rules that she set up in the first place, which is, right, well, I'm not caring for the baby, so either his family is going to step up or Roger's going to step up. Roger literally cannot step up. It sounds like he can't actually do anything at all. And so the other family is brought into the picture, Yeah. Is she an asshole? No. I mean, you really got to sort of go, this child is literally the reminder of this affair. I don't expect the mother to be like, given the circumstances under which the baby comes into the family, I do not expect this person to sort of bond and attach to this child. But I'd go one step further, which is, given the way that she has treated the baby and her actions towards the baby, there's every chance that the baby is better off with anybody but her. Right. And I don't say that necessarily as a reflection of her. I don't blame her for the feelings that she has around the baby. It's just that the baby does not need to be subjected to, I guess, this sort of living situation where the woman in the household rejects me. I am raised by my father, and in her eyes, I am literally the reminder of why their marriage didn't work at that point in time. So I'm assuming that if I were to go and read the comments, there would be quite a few comments along the lines of, good, glad the baby's gone. You don't deserve them anyway, that are fairly sort of cruel in nature. I don't think that I can quite as glibly hold that kind of a view as what I would expect to find in there, simply because the circumstances under which this baby comes into this woman's life are awful. This is not optimal bonding or anything like that. A few things here which are just kind of interesting. So obviously this is a big age difference here, and that just raises a few questions for me as to how this sort of situation happens in the first place, just because it is a highly unusual age difference. And again, when we've sort of got a 22-year-old in the mix who has an unexpected baby, I don't expect her to say, I can't do it, but to sort of bring the baby and leave. What do we think of that situation? I don't know actually what Spanish culture is like. So I don't know if the idea of raising this child solo without family around her and stuff like that is even possible. Her family does seem to be somewhat in the picture, but we don't know like where they are. And obviously the baby gets left with Roger, not her parents. I guess I just don't know how that whole situation works. There's a few parts of that that are just a bit confusing to me. 22 years old, I guess I have a level of, expectation around maturity and that kind of stuff, that this is a little unexpected. Younger, I think I would expect it more, but yeah, I'm curious as to the circumstances where one leaves their baby. So what's occurring to me here as well is we don't have the age of the baby. Can we work it out? No. Yeah, so as much as the term baby is being used here, this child could be any age up to the point where one would still call them a baby, which might not make things any better, but it might not make them worse. Again, there's the details that are missing here, which change things for me just a bit, is how much the person in here, so the 53-year-old woman, how much she knows about this baby up to this point. Things that change the situation for me is if there has been, contact, blah, 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 and there have been discussions around, she's not sure that she can keep the baby and stuff like that. I would expect those things to be like discussions that are had. But I guess maybe the discussion was had, but the caveat obviously hasn't included a heart attack. I think, and maybe that's me missing the main point of this, which is she says she's forgiven his affair, and yet we sort of just see that she hasn't. I don't know if she was sort of angling towards a marriage of convenience or something like that, but just the way that she approaches this, it occurs to me it's not really about the child. It's potentially about Roger and the fact that her feelings towards Roger no longer have the sort of depth that would allow her to sort of renegotiate when the circumstances change. You know, I don't expect people to sit down and nut out legal documents of every single caveat, but I think in a relationship like this, which is a relationship of a fair few years, that, I mean, that's my guessing again, she hasn't stated, but they have grown children together. So my expectation is they've been together for a fair while, that when something significant changes, there's at least a discussion about what that looks like, you know. And yet for her, it's like, no, the discussion was final at this point, and not even a heart attack changes that. I think for me, that's the point where I start to go, fair enough. But the relationship appears to me to be dead before the baby came in. And this statement of forgiving for the affair, I'd really call it into question. I'd be wanting to know what was forgiveness in your mind? What would the relationship look like ongoing from that point? Were you aware of the baby? How did the baby fit into that sort of plan for yourself for the future? Was this about pragmatics or not? Yeah, one thing that I find interesting here, and I don't know, so my guess is that usually these things are American. As per our prenup, my savings are my own. I'm left curious about why they have a prenup. It's still not hugely common to do these sorts of things. So I'm left kind of like, okay, is this the prenup from like what, 25 years ago? Was this something else? Yeah. The house is in his name. I never contributed to it. I have the equivalent of 22 years of rent and interest put away. Oh, okay. So she's just saying that she could save because she didn't contribute to the house, and she considers her savings. Yeah, fair play. Yeah, I can get that. So this person, to me, does not strike me as somebody who is being unreasonable. And probably this is one of the more obvious, not obvious, one of the more appropriate am I the asshole, where a lot of people are sitting there and telling her, hey, you are in fact an asshole, because they're sitting there looking at the baby and going, how can you treat a baby like this? And I think I would look at it and go, it's just not about the baby. It's the circumstances under which the baby come into her life, which I just can't imagine trying to bond with a baby under those circumstances. Like, I'm already trying to process the affair and that kind of stuff. And then I'm processing a baby, then my husband has a heart attack. And I think most of us are just going to be like, you know what, I'm done. I'm actually done. You know, he can't even look after himself, let alone a baby. I'm looking after his baby, and I don't have enough like positive feelings towards this bloke to actually take care of him, given what he's done to me. So no, I'm not interested in doing that. And then you've got the kids saying, stay to help dad. It's sort of like, this again, I wonder, it's sort of like, do they know about the affair? Do they not know about the affair? Has this person actually been upfront or not with the family around, you know what, this is what's going on? Yeah, I said they were welcome to come over and help him with cleaning himself and the baby, and both declined on what I felt was a fair offer. So they've got at least 2 children there. You know, is that a fair offer? Of course it's not a fair offer. Like, this just isn't an expectation in your, I guess, in 20s to be caring for your parents like this. You know, does this strike me as a little convenient? Again, fair offer. Well, hang on, they didn't sign up to a till death do us part. They didn't say, I've forgiven you, and actually not, because now that you're helpless, I take that back. Your children are not the ones that did any of that. They're just the product of your union, in the same way the other baby is the product of their union. You know, they don't owe anything in this scenario that is like what you're saying. So when you sort of say it's a fair offer, that's just a misrepresentation of the situation. It's not a fair offer. It's not really an offer at all. You should be honest and upfront with your kids to basically say, there is no longer the feelings left to support such a thing. Therefore, I am not. Can you do that? Absolutely. It doesn't make you an asshole. It just makes you somebody who's being honest with yourself. But that would also include, I think, being honest about the fact that the forgiveness was, by the looks of it, fairly conditional, and certainly did not include caveats around heart attacks and that kind of stuff. In which case, I start to wonder, what was the version of forgiveness? Again, she's entitled to whatever version of forgiveness she wants, but I'm left curious, what did you want out of the relationship from this point? Was this just to be a marriage of convenience where you sort of live together and it's, but we no longer have a relationship from this point? And that's probably not the version of forgiveness that most of us would be sort of thinking about. So, all right, we shall wrap it up there. Kind of an interesting one. So yeah, one of the more, like I say, appropriate Emily assholes where I could see this going either way. I think in my eyes, the circumstances around the baby coming in provide a backdrop which changes what I would otherwise think of this kind of a situation. Yeah, let's finish up there. Good to see people. Like if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more like this, and I shall catch you another time. See you.